Before I proceed with my next slide, I just want also to have you an idea about the firewall, especially for the non-technical person. So firewall is designed to protect our trusted network from the untrusted network. So the idea is we can allow or block the incoming and outgoing traffic from our network. And in firewall, we do have here called two different types of firewall. So the first one, we call it as traditional firewall. So which means we can this function we can allow or block traffic. So that's the basic function of a traditional firewall. And the second one is the next gen firewall, which are topic for today, which has also has the same way of a traditional. We can allow or block traffics, but the difference of this to traditional firewall, this next gen firewall, it enhanced more in the security features. So the security features like intrusion prevention system, threat intelligence, and we can also block application. So that's the difference between the traditional firewall and the next gen firewall. So that's the idea also of how firewall works. Okay. So for my next slide, since IP system also carrying this brand, Sonic Wall, just for your information, Sonic Wall is a PRTG technology partner. So meaning they have a partnership with the Sonic Wall, and because of that, they have a closer integration with PRTG with Sonic Wall, and that's why they have also a better visibility of traffic, threat, and status of the device. And also PRTG provide a native sensor or we call it a dedicated sensor for the sonic wall. So these are the few dedicated sensor for the sonic wall. So we call it SNMP, Sonic Wall System Health Sensor, which monitors health values of a sonic wall network security appliance via SNMP. So we can view the status of our sonic wall where we can monitor the CPU usage, the downtime, and memory usage. Then the other one is the SNMP Sonic Wall VPN traffic sensor, which monitors the traffic of an Internet Protocol Security VPN on a Sonic Wall network security appliance via SNMP. As you can see, we can monitor the VPN traffic between our device from our Sonic Wall. So these are the dedicated sensors that PRTG mentioned. And next, I'll show you now is the generic sensors that we can use also for other firewall brands. So earlier, the sensor that I mentioned is for the sonic wall. And for this topic, we also mentioned that this topic is for the next gen firewall. So this with PRTG, they do have called generic SNMP sensors and ping sensors to be able to help us for monitoring. So usually for the common devices, it supports with the SNMP protocol. So in order to monitor also other brands of our firewall devices, we can use initially all these generic SNMP sensors and ping sensors that that you can see on my screen. So as long that we set the things correctly and in our device for us to successfully monitor it with our PRTG. So it includes the CPU load, so we can check the processor, and also the traffic sensor, the system uptime, then the memory sensor. Okay. So that's the other sensors that we can use for our firewall devices. And later on during our demo, we will be showing you a lot of sensors that we can use for our firewall devices. And of course, maybe you're thinking for your network device, you want to monitor something deeper or in greater detail aside from the generic sensors that I've mentioned. So how could we possibly do that? So with this tool in PRTG, we call it a MIB importer. So this is a free tool provided by PRTG that you can download on their website. So this MIB importer, by getting the MIB file from the manufacturer of your device, or you can also check uh, on the internet, the MIB file of your device if it's provided by the internet. So once we already search for the MIB file, you can get the file and you can import it using the MIB importer. Then after that, you already import the MIB file. You can now already select what are the sensors that you want to monitor and to add for the PRTG, which is later on will be shown during the demo. So for the second topic, we can monitor now the Windows operating system. So here are the things that we can monitor on Windows and applications that we have on our endpoint. So we can monitor the security of the Windows, if it's running or is it down, the application services, the network activity, and the resources of our device. So as I mentioned earlier, the best example here is the antivirus. So we can check if the services of the antivirus is running. So we are aware that our device is protected. So by using PRTG, we can ensure that the application or the services will notify us if there are unusual on our machine. So for the sensors, it has the same method. You have the generic SNMP sensors and ping sensors. We have the CPU load, traffic sensor, uptime, and memory. Since even our operating system is supported the SNMP protocol, that's why we can also use this sensor to monitor our endpoints. But here in PRTG, they have also provided a dedicated sensors for our Windows operating system, and we call it the WMI. As I mentioned it earlier also, the Windows Management Instrumentation. So it's another protocol that's only for Windows. And here are the sensors that we can use. So for the WMI sensors, we also have here the system uptime sensor, CPU load, 3D space, and network card sensor. And as you can see, it also the same with the SNMP that we can also add the uptime, CPU load, and display. So the difference of these sensors is it is supported via WMI protocol. Okay. And now for the third topic with the monitoring with our other network devices. I mentioned earlier during the first part of my presentation, what are the kind of devices that we can monitor here in PRTG. So here are the other specific things that we can monitor. We have here the IoT, Active Directory, network traffic, a LAN analyzer. So here are the other things. And as you can see below my slide, we can see the technologies like Cisco, Dell, HP, Citrix, and VMware. So these are also the partners of PRTG. So same with the Sonic Wall, since they are also partner with the PRTG, they have also provided a dedicated sensor with its technology. So if you are using this technology, we can also integrate it with our PRTG. So we will only provide a credential for us to easily integrate it with the PRTG, and we can now already add a dedicated sensor for each technology, and we can now already monitor our network devices. So for the sensors, actually there's a lot of sensors that we can use. So I prepare some general or common sensors. So we have three categories for the other network devices. But if you can check the website of PRTG, we do have a lot of sensors that is predefined. Actually, there are 200 plus predefined sensors that we can also use. But here are the common, the general sensors. We can check the ping sensor, the ports, then the HTTPS. Then for the second category, for the bandwidth traffic, our network devices is supported the net flow, packet sniffer, SNMP Cisco sensor, we can use this. And lastly, SNMP sensors, already mentioning earlier my presentation, we can also use this for our network devices. So that's the the idea, what are the devices that we can monitor, and the common sensors that we can use. So actually, that concludes my presentation. So thank you so much all for listening. And now we can proceed with the demo. Now our principal, Aaron Tai, is here with me to give us a comprehensive demo of PRTG and also to show you in greater details about the specific brands of other network devices and the specific sensors that can help us for monitoring our network here in PRTG. So, hi, Aaron.
All right, hi. Thank you so much, A. Hi, all right, let me just take over real quick. Okay, thank you so much for having me today. Just before I start, just would like to thank you, IP System, for conducting this webinar and having me here today as well. Really thank you and salamat. All right, let me just start off with some of the demos. For example, do thank you, A, to share on the ideas of how PRTG we are trying to monitor and what devices that we are able to monitor as well. But let me just dive into the demo to give you the better idea, actually, to let you relate more, actually, how do we monitor them and how does it help you actually and to your customers as well. Right. Let's first of all, we look at the first topic that A shared just now is on the firewall. All right. PRTG, we are what we call vendor agnostics. We do not lock to a specific vendor. All right. As long as the devices support the protocol, which A shared just now, we are able to monitor them using PRTG. As you can see on the screen here right now, you can see we have, for example, for SonicWall, which is one of the brands that carry right now by IP Systems. You have Cisco ASA Firewall, Juniper, WatchGuard, Fortinet using the FortiGate Firewall, the Palo Alto, Storm Shield, even Meraki as well, the security appliance. As long as those protocols they do have, we are able to monitor using PRTG. The common one they would have is the SNMP. All right, so let us just dive in deep down a bit to the SonicWall firewall. All right, as you can see here, like A shared just now, we do have some of the generic sensors that we have. For example, like ping is to check on your connectivity. We do have some of the traffic sensors as well to monitor whether it's on the physical port or even on the VPN. All right, let me just dive in deep down to one of the dedicated sensors for SonicWall that we have. Right, one of the first one is the system health. So what does this check is help you to check the health of the SonicWall firewall. You can able to check on the memory and the CPU usage. Once you're able to monitor this, of course, I think another important thing is you want to be notified. For example, because right now you're going through a lot of all this security with all this cybersecurity, one of the ways also to help you to monitor all these devices is using a monitoring tool right now with PRTG. All right, let's say, for example, this firewall CPU usage is very high. You need to be informed of this. All right, you as if you're a client, they need to they must know actually what is happening. Let's say it spike up until you can set a warning. Let's say the CPU of the firewall spike up to 70%, it'll give you warning. If it go up to 90%, it'll give you an error so that you will be notified based on how you want to set your notifications. There are multiple ways for you to have the notifications. Some of the common ones, for example, you can use email. All right. If you have an SMS gateway, you can use SMS as well. Then you have Microsoft Teams, or maybe you're using Telegram. We do have numerous ways for you to get notified in case of anything happens to your infrastructure. In this case, it's on the firewall. All right. And then moving on, what else we can monitor for the SonicWall? All right. Let's say you want to even know, because maybe you have a lot of firewall, actually, a lot of different models. We are able to see also even the model names. And then, of course, we are able to help you to, let's say you have an IPsec tunnel in your firewalls, you can monitor it as well. Using this one dedicated sensors for SonicWall, is the SNMP SonicWall VPN traffic. You'll be able to monitor them as well. And then, of course, for the firewall physical ports, we are able to monitor them as well. Let's say you have some traffic in, then you would know. You are able to have the historical data to able to help you to see normally how much is the traffic and all these kind of things. Maybe like here, you have some live graph. Suddenly, some of the time it spike up until very high. You have this trend for you as well, all right, to have a look on all this traffic that you have for the port. Okay, and then, all right, we are able to also help you to monitor, let's move to a bit different, the FortiGate firewall. All right, we are able to monitor some CPU as well, similarly, the uptime, the traffic, and of course, if you want to monitor in greater details, most of the vendors, they would have this file called MIB file. All right, so you can obtain them, then you're able to monitor in greater details. We do have the generic sensors. Let's say there's some specific things you like to monitor. You can use the MIB file and load it into PRTG, then you can monitor in greater details. All right, let me show you an example, like the one that A shared just now on the MIB importer. Okay. So this is a free tool. Let me just show you. This is the Paisler MIB importer. This is a free tool we provide to all our partner and customers. All right. So you can use this MIB importer to import the details you like to monitor into PRTG. For this example, I'll show you for the FortiGate firewall. Right. And how I obtain this MIB file is via the firewall itself. They have the MIB file. You can download it down. All right. Let me just load it in real quick to show you. All right. You can see here, there's a lot of data inside, but maybe not all of the details will be useful for you. So maybe you like to have certain parameters you like to monitor. Let's say you are running on HA for the firewall. This is something very important to you, want to monitor on the HA. Then in the MIB file inside, there are HA actually that you can monitor. And you can just only enable partially of it, right? And then you save it. You save to a file that is recognizable by PRTG, and then you can put it to the directory of the PRTG, and then how you want to add in. It's very, very simple, right? You just have to search for these sensors, which is called SNMP library. And let's say I've already put it in here for FortiGate. Then you'll be able to see, for example, what I'd like to add in. Then you can extend your monitoring further. All right. For example, that I've added right now here, let's say I've monitored on the HA. Right. I can monitor on the status. So currently I'm running on standalone. If you're running on the HA, you'll be able to show you as well whether they are syncing, whether you have overridden, what is the priority. You can have all these details if it's something important to you. All right. It's just that easy. So it's for this MIB, it's not just only applicable to FortiGate. There are a lot of devices out there. Let's say you want to monitor in greater details, you can do that, regardless whether it's firewall, it is switches, it is routers, even access points, wireless controller, all of these, they have the MIB file, just load it into PRTG and then done. As you can, I show here with you, it just only take you to 5 to 10 minutes to let you extend the monitoring further. All right, with all this monitoring, it will make you keep on top of it. All right, what is happening in your network? Maybe certain core switches are down, you get notified. Whether certain servers are not running currently, you get notified as well. Right. Next, I'll show you as well a shit about how do we monitor the Windows OS. All right. So what is some of the usage actually? Why do we need to monitor the Windows OS? Let me show you in the demo real quick. All right. Just search. All right. So just for your information, we are not only able to monitor the Windows OS, but if you are running on Linux, we are able to monitor them as well, just for your information. So you can use the protocol like SNMP or maybe SSH. So all this protocol, you can think of it is just a language for them to talk, right? But today I'll focus more on the Windows side. So why is it important we monitor all this OS actually? So inside the OS, for example, you're running a server using Windows Server 2019 or maybe 2022 Windows Server. So you need to monitor, of course, whether it's reachable or not. I think that's common to make sure that that server, because your server is running with the OS, whether you're reachable or not. After that, you can also monitor what is the CPU. Let's say a CPU spike up until very high. You want to be notified. All right. Your client also want to be notified because this might be potentially causing issue and downtime actually. It will cause you impact to the production, for example. So you need to monitor this. And maybe you even can monitor this free, for example. If this is full, what is the impact? So you want to be notified earlier so that your customers can take proactive action, or you yourself as a managed service provider can be able to notify your customer earlier. Hey, I'm currently monitoring on your systems. Currently, I'm seeing maybe like your free space is getting lower and lower. Maybe it's time to consider to add on more, something like that. You can take that proactive actions to help your customers, or maybe the customer themselves have these solutions, they'll be able to do something about it. They'll be notified earlier. All right. And besides that, what else we can monitor with the Windows OS? Okay, we are able to monitor, let's say, the traffic as well for the network card. If you have the network card inside, we are able to monitor also how much is the traffic. Maybe you have a certain trend, normally it's just only this amount of traffic. Suddenly there's a spike. Maybe it's something it's worth looking at. All right, with this trend, with this historical data, you can do something about it to have a check. All right, and also what else we can monitor for the Windows OS is, for example, this server you want to this Windows server, you're doing it as like a jump host. You need RDP, is something very important. It is something that we can monitor on the services as well, because even if the server itself is up right now, maybe the RDP service is not running very well. You'll be able to monitor them as well as the user experience to RDP into the server. This is something we can monitor as well. All right. And of course, if you have Windows update, running some services on the Windows update, we are able to monitor them as well. When is the last time you do a Windows update? All right. Because in terms of security nowadays, one of the easiest way for you to for the security is to make sure you keep all the patches updated. All right, all the versions updated. This is one of the easiest way. For example, for servers. But right now here, you can see when is the last time it's updated? It's 19 days ago. Maybe it's still all right. Maybe you can set a timeline. If it's above how long, then it'll give you a warning. All right. And of course, if you are maybe even more advanced user in terms of the Windows, you like to check on the event logs using the event viewer. All right, there's certain logs you like to monitor. We are able to do that in PRTG to monitor on your Microsoft server, the Windows servers as well. All right, let's say for example, you like to monitor some security events in the event logs, event viewer. You'll be able to do that as well. You can, in a broad way, maybe all of it, anything's error or warning, you would like to be notified. Or maybe there's just only something specific you like to have a look at, maybe certain IDs that you know of, you'll be able to do that as well. So the whole idea is to make your life simpler. We are a tool, PRTG, we try to have all this unified monitoring all in one to make your life as a network administrator, or maybe you yourself an MSP, life much more easier, because all of these things can be monitored in a single platform. All right. And then next, we'll look at a bit on the network side as well. So this is why we are trying to say PRTG, we are unified monitoring. We try to monitor all kinds of things within PRTG to be able to help become a tool that, let's say the network administrator coming to work, this is the first tool, maybe you have a glance really quickly to see whether everything is running fine or not. All right. Next, what we can monitor is on the network side. Like I said earlier, we can able to monitor wireless, for example, you have AP, maybe you have wireless controller, we are able to monitor on that. You have switches as well. Maybe you want to monitor some QoS, we are able to do that. Switches also, like for example, Cisco, HPE Aruba switch, Juniper switch, all right, Fortinet, Zyxel, we are vendor agnostics. We do not lock to a specific vendor. All right, maybe you want to monitor some flows, we are able to do that. This is not something I'll be focusing today. On the routers as well. Let's say you're using Cisco router, MikroTik router, Huawei router. This is something that we are able to monitor as well. All right. Maybe let's dive in a bit deeper to monitor on this Cisco switch, what we can see actually. All right. So besides on the checking on the connectivity, we are able to monitor on the port traffic as well. We are able to monitor the system health, for example, your CPU, your fans, whether it's running or not, all right, your memory, your power supplies, your temperature, all these things, we have a native sensors for Cisco switch already, all right? Like I said earlier, similarly, like what we have in FortiGate, for example, you can set your own alarm and then you can be notified for it. Let's say, for example, the temperature is something is located in data centers. It's something very important for you to monitor. If it's reached above certain temperature, you can always set the limit. For example, right now, just to give you an example, let's say right now it's running on 30. I need to set some warnings lower than that. Let's say I want to set it to 20. All right, if it's above 20 degrees Celsius, I'll be getting a warning actually. All right. So let me just refresh it very quickly. And there you go. You see, you'll be getting a warning. And then after that, you can set what kind of notifications you would like to send to you, whether it's email, SMS, Telegram, Microsoft Teams, to let you know you have to take certain actions already. The temperature is getting higher than I expected, for example. All right. So besides all this network on our firewalls, on our servers, we also able to help you to monitor. For example, you have some UPS that have the SNMP card, for example. So all this power backup, right? It's UPS is called uninterruptible power supply. So if you have the network card, for example, with Eaton, the AP7, Libet, we are able to monitor the status of the UPS as well. All right, to make sure the UPS is running. So for example, whether the battery need replacing, there's something we also able to monitor as well. All right. Maybe at the back of your mind, yes, PRTG can monitor so many things, but there's so many things I'll need to see. Is there any way for me to simplify, make my life a bit easier? For example, you yourself as a solution provider to the customers, how can we make their life even easier? One of the ways is like A showed earlier is using the dashboard maps. Let me show you a few of it. All right. So for example, all right, you have a network rack. You can build something like this. Let's say, for example, here is the server. There's a firewall here. There's some switches here. There's some UPS here. You can put different sensors or devices related to there. So it'll be easier for you, maybe as an MSP, or even to the customers as well, to be able to see, maybe there's some issue with the servers here, for example. This is something I have a look. You can visualize it. So that's why, like I said earlier, hopefully this will be a tool actually as a network administrator coming into work. This is something that we'll see on first thing in the morning. Then you see everything is green. I can focus more for other work. All right. With tools like this, it's really able to help you to reduce a lot of unproductive time. All right. Imagine you don't have a monitoring tool in place for in your customer perspective. They do not have a monitoring tools. How are they going to check whether any system is running up fine or not? Maybe they have to wait until there's some user complaint, for example. Then they have to only then take reactive actions. Imagine how easy it is, for example, to make the life of your customers, a network administrator. They have something like this. They see something is not right. They take corrective action already. Instead of waiting customers, their stakeholders tell them something is not right. It will really greatly help them with the user experience, I would say. All right. And also your customers, the network administrator, they can focus on other tasks as well. Rather than doing this, for example, daily, I have to go in to check whether it's up or down manually. You have a tools like that to help you daily see on the dashboard, everything is okay. Then I'll move on to my work, daily work. And if there's issue, I can dive in back to the same tools to help me to see whether there's any alarms I need to pay attention, for example. All right. This is one of the example of the map. What else we can do? For example, you can make it something as simple like this. Let's say you're in the education field, you have a lot of things you want to monitor. You can build something simple like this. You can check on whether there's any cloud services, whether it's running okay, your network, your storage, maybe even on your environment actually. maybe you have some smoke sensors detectors, or maybe for temperatures one, you're able to monitor them. Then maybe, for example, there's some alarms, then you can take reaction to it. All right, and also we can build maps as complex as this as well. Let me just show you. All right, so this one, actually, this map, like what A showed earlier, because PRTG, we do not just only monitor on the IT infrastructure, we can monitor in a lot of stuff as well. For example, your building facilities, we are able to monitor them. Your IT infrastructure, which we have shared earlier, maybe in your services and apps, you can build complex dashboard like this. And different users can have different dashboards. You can create dashboard, for example, for network administrator, I want to see something very detailed. And for the IT managers, you have some things more high level, you can build maps like this as well. All right, maybe you work as an MSP, you yourself as a solution provider, you can build maps also for your customers. All right, so this is just only some brief overview how PRTG will be able to help you. One of the easiest way I would say is use the maps. And maybe I'll share a small tips with you guys as well. If you have an NOC that need to monitor daily, let's say you have a large screen TV, or maybe a few large screen TVs, you can display them these PRTG maps. All right. Let's say you have built 10 maps. Maybe you just only have one screen. You can use a feature in PRTG, what we call map rotation. All right. Let me give you an example. So for example, I built these 3 different maps. I only have one screen. We have a function, what we call map rotations. So you can set how long is it to rotate to a different map. All right. So if you work as an NOC, you'll be able to see your dashboard keep flipping every 10 seconds. So you do not need to have a dedicated tab. Let's say you have 3 screens just to display 3 different maps. You can have something like this. All right. So the possibility are endless with this. So on top of what we can monitor, let's say you have seen just now the next generation firewall, the servers, the switches, the routers, you can make the life easier to putting everything in the map. You can visualize it better. Because we humans actually, I think we can process things better when we are seeing something visual will be easier. So we are trying to make the life easier for you and for your customers as well. All right. Next topic, we'll move on. Let me just share with you guys on a bit of our PRTG roadmap, what we are going through and stuff like that. Although you have right now to see already how PRTG works down and dirty right now in real, how it works. Let me dive in a bit to the roadmap, what we are working on in PRTG, what you can look forward to as well, for those who are maybe familiar with PRTG already. All right. So PRTG, we do have a public roadmap. Okay, so we are company, we are very open actually to let our partner, our customer knows what we are working on. Later I can share you the link as well. So this roadmap will tell you what we are trying to build actually, what features we are coming out. Let's say, for example, we have a lot of feedback actually getting from our customers and our partners. They need single sign-on because security is getting more and more important and want to make their life a bit easier. So that's why recently, actually, we already implemented a single sign-on with one of the top single SSO provider, which is Okta, which we already implemented. Then we have also get feedbacks from customers, from partners that we need FortiGate firewall sensors. Currently, that's why we are building on it. We are still under beta status on these sensors to monitor for the FortiGate, to monitor on the VPN and also on the system health. And then moving forward, we'll let you know as well what we are working on. All right. Of course, if you have certain things you have seen right here, there's something I would like more actually. Some of the features I would like in PRTG, you can always have a feature request. Later I'll show you the link. On this roadmap, down here a bit, there's a feature request button. You can search for it. Maybe you have some feature requests you'd like to see. Maybe you can search for it as well. There are some people who have requested already. You can just only put your vote on it. These features so that we can prioritize. We'll know actually this is something needed in the field. So PRTG, we are very I would say, customers and our partner centric. So we are gathering feedback from the field. We build a solutions, a features that it makes sense to the markets, to your customers, to yourself as well. All right. And with all this roadmap insight, if you have tested some of our sensors, our features, feel free to always give us the survey actually. So that, for example, there's some things, maybe you can comment, this is something I'd like to see, please maintain it. Or this is something I'd like to see more. You can always feel free to put inside the survey. All right. So this is how PRTG works actually. Our development team works. We are gathering feedback from all of you guys. So your feedback is very, very important. Right? And finally, we have some resources that is free for you guys as well. All right. So how do you want to learn PRTG? There's a few ways you can get all the resources. First one is our what we call Getting Started. This is a free e-learning modules by PRTG. Later on, I can share the link as well, so that you can learn. Maybe, for example, you have zero knowledge about monitoring. Then with this Getting Started, it will help you step by step. We have different modules, so that maybe you have, after that, go through the course, then you have enough adequate knowledge actually to use PRTG. Then we do have webinars as well, whether it's Paisler ourselves, we do a webinar, and also together with joint webinar like today that we have together with IP systems. And of course, we do have tutorials. So all these tutorials is actually done by Paisler ourselves. This will be constantly updated. It's uploaded in YouTube. We'll teach you how to use some of the features, some of the sensors as well within the YouTube as well. And finally, we do have what we call a knowledge-based articles. Maybe the questions that you have, actually, it's already someone have asked before. It's already posted in the knowledge base. All right. Thank you so much for your attention. Next, I think we'll move on to the Q&A session. Is there any questions? Or back to the host, actually. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, A and Aaron, for that in-depth presentation and demo of how PRTG works. So we have questions here from our attendees, and let me read some so that everyone could be aware of the answers. Is that okay, Aaron?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay, so question from Mr. Gary Gallete. What precisely does PRTG monitor?
What precisely does PRTG monitors? Okay. So PRTG, what we can monitor is actually a lot of your infrastructure. For example, your switches, your routers, like I shared earlier, your firewall servers, all this we are able to monitor. Once you monitor it already, I think the important part is also be notified all these parameters so that you can take action on it. So this is actually what we are trying to do to make life of network administrator much easier. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to achieve is these three things, maybe to your customers as well, using this monitoring tool to able to help you to save your money, because it help you to reduce a lot of your downtime, save your time as well to do the troubleshootings. You have a tools for that, and most importantly, to save your nerve as well. Imagine if, I think, since I've been working in this field for quite some time, you do not want to get a call 3 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Aaron, there's some certain servers is down right now. All right, then you do not know what has happened. You have these tools, you'll be able to help.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Next question from Ms. Ren De Gia. Can PRTG be integrated to the third-party SMS gateway to receive alert via SMS?
Yes, to answer this question, yes, we can. Of course, the SMS gateway would not be provided by PRTG, but we can integrate with them. I believe I have also shared the link to you, Ren, as well. Hopefully, this will be able to help you.
Right, thank you. Next question from Mr. Gary Villete again. Why do we need to monitor the operating system through PRTG? What is its advantage?
Okay. Maybe I can relate back to the demo I showed just now, like what we can monitor actually for the OS, like for example, the CPU, the disk space, all right? Maybe some of the services or even event logs you want to monitor actually. All these things are very important. Let's say your CPU spike up until too high, then maybe, for example, your server go to blue screen. Then with this monitoring tool, you know the CPU, how much, then you can take some proactive actions rather than waiting it to go down, then you take actions. So this is some of the advantage, I would say. It will help you to reduce a lot of all this maybe unproductive time and maybe to reduce your downtime as well.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Next question from Mr. Marshall Amaro. Any other firewall other than Sonic Wall that can be connected to PRTG?
Yes, we can actually. So besides Sonic Wall, so as long as those branded support protocol like SNMP, we are able to monitor them. Like I showed in the demo just now, besides Sonic Wall, we do have, for example, your FortiGate, your Sophos, your Palo Alto, all these firewall we can monitor. Just only with what Sonic Wall, like A shared just now, we are technology partner with Sonic Wall. So we have closer integration with them. So that's why we have some dedicated sensors for Sonic Wall.
Okay, so thank you so much, Aaron, for that answers. And we have last question here from MH Ramos. Do you offer POC for PRTG? So I will be answering that question on behalf of our team. And yes, we do offer POC. Just let us know of your available schedule so we can allot time for you or your client. Okay, so any more questions from our attendees? You can also unmute yourself to ask them personally. No questions? All right, so thank you again, A and Aaron, for that very comprehensive presentation. I think we have answered all the questions from our attendees. So any more to discuss or any more you wanted to cover before we wrap up this webinar? Aaron, A?
I think finally for me, I've just shared all the details, for example, the roadmap, some of the e-learnings already on the chat. So feel free to bookmark this. Thank you.